No more messing around, guys. It's only 4 months out from the first test. We need to pick a team. Now.
We've got to pick For Love of Rugby, Lions team for the first test. Now we're running out of time. How long until the first test?
4 months.
4 months. It's fast approaching.
It's too close. We haven't got anything sorted. We need flights, hotels, logistics. But let's get the team sorted. First test now.
Right, let's have it then.
Yeah.
How do you want to do it?
I want a team.
All right.
We are the For Love of Rugby selection committee. And just to disclaimer here, this has no bearing on who will actually play the first test. However, we are taking this responsibility very seriously. And it gives us a great pleasure to name the first For Love of Rugby Lions team for the first test.
We need blazers, though. We should have brought blazers.
Yeah, we should have brought our blazers, shouldn't we? And
And we
ties.
need the biscuits.
Old school selection committee.
I would have loved
Not coaching, just we're a selection committee.
blazer, tie, shirt,
Yeah.
like,
Don't forget the biscuits, bro.
and
I know
biscuits.
you glossed
of
over
course.
that one.
Yeah. I guess the first question is, are we selecting a team to stop?
Win. We're selecting to win, mate. Not just stop, go. We're going there to win. Convincingly.
I love this, Coley.
Yeah, you're right. Because the last thing we want is for them to waste our time.
Last thing we want to...
Well played, sir.
Yeah,
well done.
yeah.
Well done.
Right.
Who's your first name on the team sheet?
Well, yeah, who's the captain?
My captain was definitely Caelan Doris before the tournament. Now, it's definitely Maro Itoje. I think he has guided England through a little bit of a resurgence through the Six Nations, through a lot of media attention, and look at how they finished the tournament. I know it was Wales, but I feel like he's done a great job, and he's playing unbelievable to match up. So I can't see beyond him. He's been on a tour, which I think makes a difference. So I'm going with Maro.
He's been on 2 tours. The other things were, I thought Doris as well. At the start of the tournament, I was like, dead set, Doris will be the captain. Knows Andy Farrell knows him and everything like that. But then you look at even when we did this task, trying to name the back row, I found so difficult.
Yeah.
Like Maro for me is like a guaranteed. Like if he's fit, firing, like he starts. No debate about it. The other thing is he'll probably go the distance. So you don't have to change the captain. So I was like you, Ant. Beforehand, I was thinking Doris, but now I'm like, no, actually, I think it'll be Maro.
Right, Doris is my captain. I thought he's been... there's a lot of Irish coaches on tour. He's the Irish captain. He knows them well. He can communicate well. I'm sure he can have discourse with them. So, yeah, I
What
love
if he doesn't
Doris.
start, though?
Yeah, he's not a guaranteed starter. The back row is so competitive where lock for me is like Maro's a dead cert starter.
Well, it depends who we picked, doesn't it?
Well, it does depend who he picks.
So if they're both in the team, who are you having?
Maro.
I don't think Doris goes the distance because he can do the distance, but I think that Maro goes the fillet where I reckon Doris, there's a chance that, well, without giving it too much away, lads, I have gone for a 6-2 split. Which means that he'd be coming off. Potentially.
Right, okay. So you go Maro as captain because he goes the distance and
He goes the distance.
and he's going to start. Guaranteed.
Let's start the front row.
Yes, let's do that.
I'm going Porter to start, and the reason I'm going Porter to start is I reckon I want Genji's carrying game back into the game.
Good, yeah. That's exactly what I've picked.
No. I want Genji to start. I want him to carry for 60 minutes, not 20. You need go forward against these guys, and you want to play with ball in hand, so you need someone to get you on the front foot. Genji's your man.
Genji's the man to come on at the back end of the game when they've had the pack has laid the foundations for him to run over the top of them at the back end of the game. Australia don't have the depth that the Lions have. Genji can come on and cause havoc last 20, 30 minutes.
If we're talking about scrummaging here, then, mate, feel free, because I have absolutely no idea what goes on there. So, but away from the scrum, Genji has to start.
Porter, he doesn't give you the carry power of Genji, but what he will do is give you, put the fatigue into Aussies. And on the back of that, Genji comes on, Muller's their scrum, but it's always on the foundations of what Porter's done before the game. And then Genji comes on, he has that carry game. Because I think that the longer the game goes on, the more Lions unleash the bench for this carry power, and the Aussies just can't do it. They're just like, the back end of the 20 is where the game's going to be won, in my opinion.
Coley, can you have the final say, seeing as you're the scrummaging expert?
Yeah, well, my initial thoughts were having Genji come off the bench and add, let's say, carry, but then I also was half caught because I think one of Genji's potential strengths is you can use him in like set piece, as in off line outs, as in carrying either first or second phase, and often you don't do that. You don't build a special move for the bench, do you? You starter does the role. So if you have a loose head carrying on around the corner or a second phase, which would be Genji's perfect thing, you wouldn't have him. You wouldn't do that off the bench. So I'm just, I was caught in two minds. I think whoever Lions pick is a really good option. I think Genji probably, it works against him. I think he comes off the bench because he does offer that explosive element to the game and can come on for 20 minutes. I think he'd do a better job for 20 minutes off the bench than a Porter would. He'd make more of an impact off the bench.
Porter's not an impact player from the bench. Like,
I think he can be, but I think the combination of having them both is probably you for that 80-minute, for that shirt for 80 minutes, you get more having Genji come on red hot, steaming at the ears for 30 minutes in the second half.
If you flip it the other way around, Porter will come on, absolutely do a job, but it's not like the job that you need in the last 20 as such, because Genji coming on with 20 or 30, he can do all the things that Porter does around the scrum and line out, set piece like that, and be an absolute beast at carrying.
Yeah.
I'll concede this one, but I was expecting some payback later down the line.
We'll return the favour potentially. Right, so Porter starts, Genji on the bench.
Yes.
Hooker.
Oh, this one's clear cut, isn't it? No disrespect to the other hookers, but Sheehan is playing like he's one of the world's best.
Yeah.
I don't think many can argue with that. But Coley wants to. I can see it in his eyes.
The only way I'd look at it is if we're saying that Genji can come on for the last 20, and you got to be in a position to actually run away with the last 20, is you'd say hard track in Australia, fast pace, and like Sheehan coming on. But I want someone like Luke Cowan-Dickey coming on and bringing that mongrel back into the game and that abrasiveness. And I want Sheehan, like, because he's such an awesome player, like from the off, going at it, set piece, like do his thing, but really wider channels. And we talk about moves, like you look at him, he can peel off the back of line outs, throw in and use his pace and all that experience in terms of like, he's as quick as a back.
You mentioned Cowan-Dickey, and we actually picked a squad of players a few weeks ago in the middle of the tournament, of the middle of the Six Nations, didn't we? That was our plane of players.
Yeah, well, I've changed my mind. Just like this could change if we did this a week later.
Fine, all right then. Like what you done there. Okay. Anyway, we're having Sheehan to start, yes?
Sheehan starts.
Right.
So, no, but who's benching?
Well, I went Jamie George.
I went Jamie George.
I thought what he came on against, say, France and Scotland for England. He offered carry, he offered set-piece accuracy, that bit of leadership. He's been there before with the Lions a couple of times. I had him.
But Dickey adds a jackal threat.
Yeah.
And I think Australia will go multi-phase, go through the phase play. Like, that's another guy going hard at the ball. Jamie doesn't have that part of his game.
But I think the accuracy at the set-piece, potentially when the game's getting loose, is you're able to rein it back in and get control in that part of the game. I would have that, along with everything else around the field. And
we can't underestimate the leadership skills he's got. If you've got in my situation, when you've got a bench that's relatively young, you need an older head to hold it down, and Jamie's your man. Like Coley said, he's been on 2 tours, shores up the set piece. I think the Lions will be flying it. You want someone to come off the bench and just hold it down.
All right, let's go, Jamie.
Tight head.
This is your expertise, Coley.
Will
I'll
Stewart.
be honest.
There you go.
Will Stewart.
Yep.
Starts.
Yes.
Who compliments and coming on?
Beelum. Finley Beelum off the bench.
Interesting. I saw Ty Furlong get a game just back into the Six Nations.
Yeah. I haven't seen... I know Ty has a great history of the Lions, but so far this season, for playing now,
poor
projecting 4 months' time, he hasn't played. Yeah. So I think if you look at the Six Nations players, I think Will Stewart's been the outstanding tight head. I think Beelum, especially off the bench, potentially you could... A, gives you set piece power, but I think second half, maybe against Australia, you won't need as great a set piece. So that ability around the field, I think Beelam's got it, and so that's why I go off.
Sorry, I can't skip over the Tig thing. I know it's just not just because we were in Vegas together. I don't think you can skip over someone who's been one of the best tight ends for the last 10 years. You can't not have him in your squad.
So then what are you selecting on?
It's not historic form. You don't, I don't know. You can tell me if I'm wrong here, Coley, but you don't just lose it, do you?
Some do. I don't know. If he hasn't played it, we don't know, do we?
That's true.
That's the thing.
But we're going to see him play.
You're right,
before.
Tony. You don't just lose it as we sit here.
Yeah.
All three of us discussing
Talking about life, not being here.
Yeah. Yeah. You actually get better with age.
But yeah, where were we? Historic form. Yeah.
I was really good in 2008.
Well, yeah, do you know what?
Do you know when tries used to come for 4 points?
I was actually,
I
at one
was good
point I
then.
could, just...
When I was at school.
My point still remains. They ain't leaving him at home. And if he's fit and he goes, he'll be starting.
He will...
Yeah, he needs a good run of games.
He just needs a run of games,
Of
doesn't
course.
he? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're right, because what he's done previously for Lions and Ireland and everything like that, it's whether... He's one of those guys that is a bit of a race against the clock. And, like, historical performances and everything he's done will get him in the conversation. It's probably now just like, can he stay fit? And, like, now he is fit. Like, what is his performance look like? Because Sheehan was out for, like, what, a year? But he's literally come back and just been insane. So, if he does that, then I totally agree with you, Dan. But I'm leaving the tire to Coley. What are you going with? You going to beat him?
Off the bench, yeah, on current form. I think that's the thing with Tyler. There's just that question mark of what I can see you taking him, say Stewart, Beelam, and Furlong on tour. I think you can play him because the ceiling's so high that you can potentially almost play him into form. Say if he hasn't played between now and then, but just as the safe options, I'm going Stewart and Beelam because they're in form and playing, and we know what you're going to get.
So that makes up our front row. So we've gone with Porter to start, Genji to come off the bench. We've gone with Dan Sheehan to start, Jamie George to come off the bench. We've gone with Will Stewart to start, with Finlay Beanham coming off the bench. Second row is confirmed. We've gone Maritoji and captain.
Yeah, the other second row slot.
The other second row.
Tig Burn. Do I need to elaborate?
No, you don't. I've gone Ollie Chesham.
I've gone Tig Burn.
I've gone Tig Burn at 6.
Okay.
So I've got Tig Burn. I'm a big Tig Burn fan. Don't know him, but
The
I'm a
back
big fan.
row is just so good. I think
I can't leave him out,
I know.
and that's why I got him at 6. Originally, I had him like as coming on the field at the back end of the game. But I went with Chesham because I think Ollie Chesham on dry track, I think he's offers something very different. But then I know Tig Burn over a ball, for instance, like no second row jackals like he does. He's phenomenal at it.
Yeah. You said that multi-phase jackal is going to be important.
I believe so.
So Tig Burn's your man then, isn't he?
Yeah, but I had Tig Burn as my man at 6.
Oh, yes.
Because then I still got then three jumpers. And you put in Doris as well, to be fair, who can jump.
Ches does get through so much work. More than this Six Nations, more than I've ever seen.
He's been very,
And
very,
he has.
very impressive. Athletic, carrying games improved. Good leadership, mate, for a young guy.
Yeah.
Mature.
I just think you need your absolute best, like best possible 15 out there. And I think to do that, you need Tig Burn at second row to accommodate a freakishly talented back row.
So who have you got? 'Cause I've gone Burn at 6, so therefore who have you gone at 6?
Tom Curry.
Toby Faletau. I know you're going to think that's
Historic.
I
You
know
love a historic. Are you going to be playing on the wing for this team? Have you picked yourself?
There is
Just going on historic form.
There is a chance.
Yeah.
Mate, no, like, we know an in form, in sync Toby Faletau can be awesome. And when we did the list of after round 3 of the Six Nations who we thought would go, we spoke about Faletau, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, what?" And it's like, if you've played with him or played against him, you know how good he is. Like, and we saw glimpses of it back into the tournament.
Yeah.
But
It might be a
Interesting.
stretch. Again, and it might be a bit historical bias there, but again, best possible 15. I think Toby Faletau's in that back row, which means that Tig Burn has to go to the second row.
And you had Tig Burn and then Curry at 6, did you?
Yeah.
All right. Let's go Ty Burn in the row. I can concede on that.
Okay.
I can concede on that.
And I put Ches on the bench because I think, again, comes on, carries, gets through a load of work. That's if the game, he's set piece, so him and Jamie George can work well together as he comes on fresh like he did. If the line-out did struggle with England's line-out struggled, I think, in the first game, it was at Ireland. He sort of came on and just solidified things. I think he gives you that option, but if the set piece is going well, Chesham gives you carry around the field.
Well, Chesham coming on in a game against Australia where it's like broken up anyway.
Yeah.
Like,
He's going to be red hot.
get him in that wide channels, let him do his
He
thing.
will be sunburned.
Yeah.
It's a late kickoff, thank God. Right, so we've locked that in. So Ty Burn will start with Maro Itoje. And remember, we are picking this 4 months out. And for those of you who think that we actually have a say in this,
We don't.
we don't. Ches on the bench. Like it. Now, for me, I found the back row so
it's
difficult.
ridiculous.
Apart from Doris at 8.
I might actually have to change mine.
So I've gone for 6, obviously went Ty Burn, but I'm happy to concede on that. So therefore, who do you guys go? You went with Toby and you went with Curry.
Yep.
I got Curry at 7.
I don't think you can have this debate without all 3 positions being considered because, what you do at 7 depends on what you do at 6 and 8 and then second row. So now we've got Tig and Maro locked down.
Yeah.
Do you need a jumper there? No, I don't know. This is a question.
I went with 3 jumpers. But no. And because they go multi-phase, like Burn for me, I went at 6 because 1, he covers line-outs. So good in the line-out. But 2, he's so good at Jacqueline as well.
Yeah.
So we kind of...
Hybrid.
Yeah, exactly that. So we can do both.
Mm.
But it wouldn't surprise me if they put a 7 at 6 to and go with 2 7s to play in the back row. So in which case, are you going 6? Like when you start thinking about it, you got Curry, you got Van der Fleer, you've got Morgan, you got Ben Earl.
I don't think my Toby argument is going to get past you two, so I'm going to concede. And in substitution, I'm going to say Jack Morgan.
At 6.
Yep.
I've got Jack Morgan on the bench. I went 6-2 though. I've said that a few times, but I went 6-2. Because I've just got this. The way I set it up, I'm like the lines just coming over the top of them back end of the game, where it's like Aussies like hang in there, but then they just get absolutely beaten up and torn up back end of the game.
Well, I've got Curry, right? Is Curry in everyone's back row?
Yes.
Right, okay. Put Curry where you want then. Because I had Curry at 6, Van der Fleer at 7. Because I think Australia, they've got like McWright and people like that who are really good over a ball. So to counter that, I'm targeting the breakdown. I'm playing almost 2 7s. However, that's my tactic. And then my 8 is Doris, who I think can jackal the ball, but he can be a bit more, he should have carry a range. You know, you lose a bit of line out with that back row, but
is everyone's 8 Doris?
Doris is my 8.
Okay.
Everyone's
then
8
we've got
Doris, right? Okay.
So
Everyone's
Doris-
8 Doris. So
Curry's in one of the slots, so it's a question of Morgan. Well, you're out with Burn, aren't you? Burn's in the row.
Yeah,
Burns in the row. I've conceded to Burn in the row. Originally had him at 6. But
So
he's
do you
all
want
right.
it?
Jack Morgan, Earl, Tommy Rafael.
Yeah. It comes
I've
down
got.
to,
I had Earl and Morgan as the 2 finishers for me.
Double jackal finish.
I did. I didn't have Van der Fleer in my 23.
Okay.
I think Jack Morgan will start.
He's a hell of a player.
Yeah, he can carry as well. He's not just an out and out jackal threat. Like I know they got battered in the end, but he stepped up and carried a lot against England, and he made a lot of yards when he did carry. Refuses to get tackled. I think he's got to go in that back row.
So let's go Curry 6, Morgan 7, and Doris is your 8.
Fine.
So then who's on the bench?
Benel has to be on the bench.
And are we going 6-2 or are we going 5-3?
I don't think you can go 6-2 against Australia.
I've won 6-2.
Have you?
Yeah.
I reckon you can, because I reckon you bring him into the game of power.
You guys are so edgy.
This
Razzie set the trend. Now look at you.
This selection means a lot to me. So I'm taking this selection very seriously.
We're 6-2.
Imagine though, on a Lions series, you get stung because of a 6-2. Come on, the risk is not worth the reward on a Lions tour. 6-2, I'm not having it.
Yeah, but the reward is the fact that you completely overpower him.
Yeah, but bro, there's so many good backs to choose from. To have 2 on the bench and leave you isolated at 10 in your situation, I think that is way too risky.
Well, let's come back to the bench. Right, so we got that's the pack complete, right?
That's the pack complete.
Right, so I'll for everyone watching and listening, it is Porter to start, Genge to finish, Sheehan to start, Jamie George to finish, Will Stewart to start, Finley Beanham to finish. It is Maritoji as captain, with Tyg Byrne in the second row and Ollie Chesham to come on and finish. Then the back row is Tom Curry at 6, Jack Morgan at 7, and Caelan Doris at 8. And we kind of said Ben Earl on the bench, but we're going to... Back row is so difficult that we're going to come back to the remainder of the bench, we feel. So that's the pack sorted, and... That's a good pack.
Right, I'm just happy we ain't fighting yet, to be honest with you. I'll take that.
Right, the back line. Your two fortes. I'll just sit over
Well,
here.
I was commenting on scrummaging earlier,
You
so
were,
I think
yeah.
you feel free to chip in.
Well, I feel
It's wing play.
9 and 10 is, I feel, obvious.
Is 10 that obvious?
Well, 9 is Gibson Park,
Yeah.
like without doubt.
Tick. Yeah.
So, but all can agree on that. 10 is Finn Russell, in my opinion. Did he have the greatest tournament? No. Is he the best 10 though? Yes.
I've just realised I've actually gone 6-2 with no scrum.
Oh, shit! You're
Imagine going to Australia. with a six- Hey, you can't risk it.
You can't go to Australia.
You can't
do
risk it. You can't risk
only
only
10 on the bench. Yeah, we got 9 on the bench. That's my
You
special,
can't risk it, mate. You can't risk
special
it.
position.
How have
Yeah.
I done that? Has my maths gone?
Let me have a look at your iPad. I promise. I won't.
Yeah, it's all right. I got 22. That's why I made a mistake.
Let's go. All right. So we all agree on Gibson Park. 10.
Up for debate, isn't it? We got Marcus Smith, Finn Russell, Jack Crowley, Prendergast, Anscombe. I said 40?
No, not yet.
40. Who else am I missing?
Owen Farrell.
Owen Farrell,
Johnny Wilkinson.
Stephen Jones.
Dan Cole.
Stephen Jones.
Sorry, Stephen Jones.
James Hook.
Yeah. Rob Andrew.
Rob Andrew.
No, seriously, there is some. That's
No, there is. There's loads. For me, it's Russell. Russell's the 10. I think he's like, as we sit here now, 4 months out. Even though he didn't have an amazing tournament, I still think he is the best 10. And you get him on the front foot. You get him in a team surrounded. I mean, Tuipulotu, who was obviously out injured, makes a massive difference for Scotland. I think he helps Finn. And I think Finn probably had to take on a lot of responsibility with some of the attacking stuff. And he didn't have his mate outside him to kind of help be that extra playmaker and do all those bits. And I think if you compliment him back in there, I think Finn is... There ain't anyone like him.
you can make an argument for and
All of them,
against
to be
it.
fair.
Yeah, and that's why 10 is. I think 10 is the hardest one to debate because also no one. I don't think anyone can say wholeheartedly that this Six Nations, hands up, I'm the 10 starter.
Yeah.
Because of the different circumstances. I think Finn will probably start. I think he will. I think at the start of the campaign, I would have said I would have loved to have seen Marcus at 10. I think given how, unfortunately he's not played as much as at 10 as we'd like, I think that Finn probably holds that down, doesn't he? So I'm happy to go with, mate, like you said, you can go with any of them, but
No, you can.
I think Finn will be the starter.
I think so much of the 10 is going to come down to how everyone sort of finishes the remainder of the season. Because I reckon there's still... The other thing as well, like, do they take 2 10s
Yeah.
and then use someone like Blair Kinghorn that can cover 10, slot in there for like a game? Like that's what they did in 2013, and they took 2 10s and Hogg, I think, played a couple of games at 10. Is it a position where...
that was in 2017, was it? Or
2013 they did that. I don't know what they did in 2017.
No, Biggs was there as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, Bigger Sexton, Farrell. He played 12 as well, didn't he?
But that's So sometimes they take 2 with the idea of someone being able to cover another one.
Yeah.
The 10 debate is mad, mate.
Yeah. I think we're in agreement. Coley? Finn?
Yeah.
Russell?
Finn Russell, for if we're naming it today.
Yeah, just he's been there on tours previously and kind of knows it. Whether the other guys you're probably picking are rookies in that regard, or Lions rookies, which shouldn't count against them. But
Yeah.
I'm counting it against him.
I think his last outing for the Lions as well was pretty impressive.
It wouldn't surprise me though if someone goes there like a Marcus Smith that's then selected as a 10, plays at such a level that forces his way ahead of him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I don't see it as right now. Okay, but then I could see that coming down to absolutely who's getting the best out of the other team.
I think at 9, say, if Gibson Park would have to have a real stinker.
Yeah.
You'd have to have a number of stinkers.
If you picked it today, whereas I think 10, it's open. It's the one who puts their hand up and plays. It's probably Russell's shirt to lose, but if whoever puts hands up in the games prior to that, it's open. You know what I mean? I think
which has happened so much online. Like Toby on the last one, probably at the start you would have said starts all 3 games, and then obviously Jack Conan comes in, tears it up, and he ends up starting. It happens all the time. So
yeah, it does. So that's our 9 and 10: Gibson Park and Finn Russell. Centres.
I've gone for Bundy at 12. I think he's got such a variation in the way he can play. Obviously, he's a massive bloke, can run it up the guts, but he's got a nice little distribution to his game. He's obviously played and trained with Finn before. So, you talk about that connection like he has with Tuipulotu. I think it's probably there to some extent with Bundy. And I think that his Six Nations form deserves a start.
Tuipulotu for me, although injured, he's a guy that hasn't played the championship. They're desperately trying to get him fit in time for the tour because I think he's that important.
I agree. I
think he's that good. And I think if you're going to play Finn, you need to play him outside him because he is like Bundy. He can carry, he can hit, he can distribute, he can play make. Like he does all of it. So if he's fit, he's the one that starts.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily disputing that, but you can't name him to start if he hasn't played in the Six Nations, in my opinion.
We had him on the plane though, right?
Yeah.
We did.
He's on the plane, no debates.
He's a bit like Furlong in the forwards in the fact that he hasn't played in the Six Nations. I think he's probably a bit further wrong than Furlong, but you take him on tour, and if he plays a minute, you probably have him starting your team. It's just difficult now to say where he's at in that regard.
He's further along, but Tig has the experience of being on 2 and starting all. He started the last 6 tests, has he not?
Yeah.
And Sione hasn't played for the Lions yet, so they don't have the same. I don't think it's apples and oranges. Is that the right saying?
It is now, yeah.
It's actually, I made that.
No, it's
oh, right. Yeah, I don't think you can compare the two. I just don't think it's fair on someone who's played so well through the Six Nations to not be named. I know we're not actually naming it, but you know what I mean? I don't think you can name a Lions team and disregard someone's form for someone who hasn't played.
Yeah, but when you think of in that position, you think of all the others that are fighting for that position. But then I look at that and I think it's a bit like if Cheslin Colby was injured for South Africa and he got fit in time, like the first week of the test, like you're putting him in.
Yeah, it depends who the other person is, though.
Yeah, it does. But I just think if you're going to play Russell.
In fact, sorry, with Cheslin it doesn't.
No, yeah, I mean Cheslin's going to be fit the day of the game and starting. But
apart from Lieutenant Dens.
Yeah, but I just think he's.
I'm also contradicting myself here because I'm talking about historical bias and then talking about form in the same. So I think where there's a suitable or like a really appropriate form replacement, I don't think you can bring someone straight in.
But if we're saying right, Tuipulotu had played or gets fit in time and gets minutes under his belt, he starts.
Yeah.
If he doesn't get fit in time for the tour, Aki starts.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah. I'm happy to go with Tuipulotu. I just think that the it's on a scale, it's very 50-50 between Bundy and Tuipulotu, and they play really similarly. But that relationship with Finn, that might be the tip-in.
If you've got a 9 and 10 that haven't played together, and then you have a 9, 10, and 12 that haven't played together, I think that's where it becomes so hard.
I'm happy to.
So I'm going Tuipulotu.
Okay. Sorry, Bundy. I tried, Bundy.
Bundy, you tried. You're on tour, mate. You're on tour. Right, 13.
So have you got 13 then, boys?
I had Hugh Jones. 13's this weird position at the moment for me where no one's really nailed it. Like Ollie Lawrence, I thought had a great tournament, but unfortunately, he's obviously got injured, bless him. Really unfortunate because I think he had a great opportunity to go. And again, someone that I reckon once he got out there would have thrived and pushed for a test start.
I agree.
I look at Gary Ringrose. I think he's a fine player. I think Hugh Jones has more attacking attributes than Ringrose. I think Ringrose is a fantastic defender, though, like really key to Ireland. But Hugh Jones has that bit of X factor, I think. Fremo is a bit of a late bolter. Yeah, I know he played against Wales and everything like that, but he's one of those guys that I could see go on the tour and maybe get some goes at 13. You never know. Then you start thinking about Elliot Daly that can play 13, and it gets kind of crazy. But for me, Hugh Jones seems like the choice right now, with Ringrose like hot on his heels. But I just think he has that little bit of X factor, Hugh Jones.
He makes stuff happen.
Yeah,
I think Hugh Jones for me is, and it's crazy to be honest with you that Gary Ringrose hasn't already started for the Lions.
Has he toured? I don't think he's toured.
No, he hasn't, and
No.
he'll in my opinion, he'll definitely go this.
Yeah,
this
I think
summer.
he'll go.
And he'll be pushing all the way for a starting spot. But I think Hugh Jones' attacking form is so significant that I agree with you, Len, is what I'm trying to say.
Can Bundyaki cover 13? Is there a world in which Sione, Tuipulotu and Bundyaki are on the field at the same
Do you
time?
know what?
At 12
I
and 13?
actually reckon Sione could play 13. And
Sione
Bundy
could
at
play
12.
13.
Or vice
And
versa.
Bundyaki could play 12. I think you keep Bundyaki at 12 and then you move
Because
Sione.
I'm just thinking of like
at
the
13.
Australian backline, and it's loaded with big, physical, talented blokes.
Yeah, there's specimens.
So
So do you match it?
yeah, especially early in the game, and match it with those two physical lumps, and then you know what I mean.
What are we thinking? Australia will go Len Ikitau and.
Well, they could go Samu Karevi.
Oh wow!
They could go Lenny Katau. They could go
They got
Joseph Suaalii
Suaalii,
at 13.
That's the thing. When England
That's
played,
like-
when
that's
England played,
big, man.
when England played Australia in the autumn, it was literally like, look at the Australian backline. They can all shift, move the ball, and like they're like you know what I mean. They're like big, rangy Australian.
Well, their
back.
centres is their X factors.
Yeah.
The centres that like you go Karevi and you go Suaalii, like that is, and they might play him at fullback, they might play him on the wing,
Yeah.
but I reckon 13.
So do you then match like power in that regard?
I knew he was going to be important in the selection meeting.
I actually think that's a great shout. I think we should go Bundy and Tuipulotu.
That's harsh on Hugh Jones, but
That's
yeah.
so harsh.
But yeah, fine. So we're going to go. Okay, that's harsh on
Am
him,
I
man.
making it up, or does Tuipulotu not play at 13 a fair bit?
He
for
can play
Glasgow?
13, yeah. He can play 13, yeah.
Yeah, mate, we got to bang him at 13.
Right. So let's go Gibson Park, Finn Russell, Bundyaki, Tuipulotu, leaving us with the back three.
Yeah. For me, the wingers, I think, straightforward is hard.
Do we all agree with low?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
low
think
start,
He
yeah.
adds too
Yeah.
much, doesn't he?
Yeah, low starts.
And I think that Doohan, starts on the other wing. Done it before, started all 3 tests last time. I don't think you could say his form's dropped at all. I think he's still flying in the Six Nations when he gets going. And we've spoken on the pod before about the relationship wingers and 10. I think it's going to be important. So I think that they put Doohan on the wing.
I had James Lowe. We all had James Lowe. I also had Duhan van der Merwe because I think when you start thinking about like your Darcy Grahams, your Manny Fa'awaboso, if he gets fit in time, you start thinking about Tommy Freeman and the form that he's found during the Six Nations. But Dewey van der Merwe just has something so different to all of them. You know what I mean? When he's on the front foot moving forward, he's such a handful. And again, that carry power he can give you.
I had Fremo.
Fremo for me is someone that could, because he's a physical specimen as well.
Very, 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 very good defender.
Very good defender, very good in the air.
Fremo, I think, gives you versatility at 13 as well. If you are going to 6-2 on the bench, for instance, he gives you multiple roles, and I think he can do the flash stuff, and he can also just work hard and get the ball back when it's in the air.
Merv the Swerve, as in Dewey, offers something completely different.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a big Fremo fan as well.
Oh, so am I.
And the 13, if we go 6-2, can cover that. You're a wealth of knowledge, mate.
Not just a pretty face.
We're just so impulsive, aren't we, Ant?
Yeah. But I'm still saying it. You guys need to get 6'2" out of your heads. It's not going to work.
6'2" is going to work, mate.
It's
You're
not
going to
work.
come to
I
see
did the
that.
maths wrong earlier. I did not have a 6'2".
You're going to have a
it's not
6'2"
gonna
by
work.
the end of this conversation.
I'm ready to die on that hill.
Tommy Freeman is another guy where potentially Duan van der Merwe goes into the tour as maybe ranked maybe slightly above him, like let's say from the outside or within the coaching. But you can see him going there and just absolutely tearing it up and then actually forces his way in.
Do you know another one? Again, I don't want to contradict what I've said earlier, but I think he'll go. Manny Fabregoso.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And
Manny,
if he goes, mate, we've seen what he can do.
well, then
Anything
it blows
can
it up
happen.
wide open.
Exactly.
But it's like we yeah.
Too many hypotheticals.
Yeah,
there,
he
isn't
was
there?
in our late bolter. I think we had him in the So I really like Dewey van der Merwe. I think he's unreal going forward. But I'm English and I want Tommy Freeman in there.
2 Tommy Freemans against. I'm happy with it.
Come on.
And this is the thing about Lions, right? People went like, when it comes to selection, it depends who's in the room with the coaching staff, doesn't it? If there's no English selectors in there, if there's no one who's
You're
coaches
cooked.
England, and it comes down to these calls, like you are cooked,
Yeah.
and that's what will happen to some lads if it's not like that, as in we're not, but as in if you know that player and you've worked with them in the past,
Yeah, and even if they're not in total 100% form,
you're gonna back your own players.
Them, you know they come from
exactly.
You've
team,
got more.
whereas
You've got
you
more
might have
bias.
some guy who's a bolter on there who's played really well, but you don't trust him in a test match.
Yeah, because you don't
know him. So yeah,
all right, let's go Tommy Freeman though.
Okay.
Fullback, who have we got?
Kinghorn.
Kinghorn.
Yeah, I think
It's so harsh as well, though, because Hugo Keenan is a hell of a player.
No, but he is. Hugo Keenan's a bit like, I see Hugo Keenan a bit like I see Ringrose, where like he's unbelievably solid. He does his role phenomenally well, will never let you down. But I feel like Kinghorn just does him on X Factor. And it's the same conversation said about Hugh Jones versus Ringrose. Is he just has a bit more cutting edge in terms of making something happen. And I think Hugo Keenan's a fine player, but he doesn't have that. You can see Blair Kinghorn create something like on a counter-attack and everything like that. I don't see the same threat from Hugo Keenan. But then equally, I don't see any errors from Hugo Keenan.
Yeah, exactly.
But I see errors from Kinghorn. And that's where, like, you know what I mean? And it's such a difficult one. But I think Kinghorn was outstanding for Scotland in the Six Nations.
I just wouldn't be surprised with the way we've gone with the rest of the back line. It might be smart to have a rock at the back, solidify it all. You know? Don't know. Throwing it out there, mate.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah. But
Keith Earls.
you got to think as well, like, let's say they go with Joseph Suaalii, like in the air and things like that, who's phenomenal in the air. Like, do you try and match that? Well, he's a big guy.
Yeah.
Kinghorn's probably got about the same. They're about the same, similar shape, I'd say.
Yeah.
That you don't really want to be going with.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. I just think Kinghorn's been so good. So let's shoot him in. Right, so the back line is Gibson Park, Finn Russell, James Lowe, Bundy Aki, Tuipulotu, Tommy Freeman, and Kinghorn. There we are. On the bench, we have Jamie George, Ellis Genge, Finlay Beedham, Ollie Chesham, and then we loosely said Ben Earl.
Yeah.
I've got Ben on the bench.
I've got Ben Earl on the bench.
She's locked in. Now,
So he's locked in.
there's 3 spots
Now,
remaining.
There's 3 spots. Are we going
We've
for
all got a 9.
We've all got a 9. Who's your
Yeah.
9?
Alex Mitchell.
Who's your 9?
Mitchell.
I went Thomas Williams.
See, before the Six Nations, I was on
Agreed.
Thomas Williams. After the Six Nations, I thought Mitch has been, because I would previously said Mitchell's quite not erratic, but he's had like really good line breaks and I'm mistaken him. Was actually I think he was just consistently good throughout the Six Nations. I don't think you didn't see like the massive line breaks and that kind of running, but he was just consistently good throughout. So I thought like if the Lions need to chase a game, he can come on and we know he can run. But if they need to sort of see it out, then he can come on and do that as well. So I picked him.
I'm a big fan of Alex Mitchell. Indeed. I think Thomas Williams going into the tournament, everyone was expecting. But Thomas Williams had to play on the back foot and had to play in a system for Wales, which didn't complement his attacking abilities. I think that Thomas Williams on the front foot, behind a really good pack, playing in that system, is a little bit further down the line than where Alex Mitchell is right now in his career. And I think Alex Mitchell's a fine player and going to be brilliant for England and continue to be brilliant for England. But I think Thomas Williams is a bit like a Jack Morgan, where you put him in a side that's a little bit more front foot, winning collisions, speed of ball and all that. And I just think that he just has that little bit over Mitch, and it's nothing more than the fact that he's been there for longer on the Test arena. That was my thoughts on it.
In a team going backwards, do you reckon then it's easier to be a forward than a decision maker?
When you're playing on the back foot as a halfbacks, it's so difficult.
Okay.
So difficult, and that's where I probably sympathise for him a little bit in terms of like having to deal with that in the tournament for him.
I'll trust your judgment.
But the 9 situation is very much it's Gibson Parks, and then the other two, whoever fights it out for the bench spot is, in my opinion, is between Alex Mitchell and Thomas Williams.
I think Ben White's actually gone all right though as well.
I think he has gone well. I think it probably still comes back to, once again, of who's the coaching staff involved.
Yeah.
And therefore, like, do they vie for... Like, if there's a couple of Scottish coaches involved, then you can see Ben White actually probably getting on there. Not that he doesn't deserve to, but like, do you know what I mean? Is it like, again, it's...
of course, yeah.
It's...
Okay.
I just feel like there's a big gap between Gibson Park and the rest, and then those three
Yeah.
that you could take... Yeah.
Yeah.
Mitch had a very good tournament, though. And I just think Thomas Williams, if you put Thomas Williams behind a different pack, then I think he would have shone.
Thomas
and
Williams
we need some Welsh lads.
Yeah, you're the expert, mate.
Thomas Williams it is. No, Len. I know what you're thinking.
You got 6-2.
It's not happening.
Who's what?
It's not 6-2.
I was about to say, but hang on a minute. We're losing out another forward. We need another forward because I want 6-2.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, well, let's have the other back.
Right, go on then. My other back.
My other back was Tommy Freeman.
So was mine, but I was happy
he's starting now. I think...
The reason I went Freeman, before you say, is I felt like Kinghorn could cover 10 if needs to be.
In a Lions test is very different.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't think that's happening. I reckon, do you know what? If we want versatility, our old mate, third series this would be Elliot Daly. You need versatility on the bench. If you're not going to go 6-2, and a lot of those players, the centres are interchangeable that we've named. Kinghorn can play on the wing, yes. But then outside of that, where we go? So you need a centre on the bench.
Elliot covers so many positions that it's such a tick for him, isn't it? It's such a tick for him. Like,
but Tommy Freeman can play centre. So then do you need an out-and-out fullback on the bench?
Or do you need a 10 and fullback? Marcus Smith. More of a 10 than a fullback, of course. We've had that debate for the last however many weeks. But
wow. I mean, I think he's on the bench regardless, personally.
You think Marcus on the bench?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're sticking with the 5-3.
Yes.
So therefore, Thomas Williams, Marcus Smith, and/or Elliot Daly.
And can I just elaborate on why?
Go on.
Because you said it yourself about how freakishly good that backline is, Australia's this is, and how powerful they are across the board. So automatically injuries become more likely if it becomes a physical contest and when you've got those guys. So why are you going to risk it? And what forward would you put in the back line if something happened?
Bernal, it's a back row back, isn't he?
From a back's point of view, how hard it is playing on the back foot. So let's go with 6-2, and those backs ain't getting the ball on the front foot because the forward's going to pound them.
I just honestly do not think it's going to happen. Australia got too much, and they love holding the ball. The back line will be tired as well.
Yes, they love holding the ball, so let's get another jackler out there.
I like it. It's not happening. I'm dying on this hill, so you're either coming with me or you're not.
Australia go multi-phase, so you go after their breakdown. The back line's the main threat, so you pound the pack, make the back line play on the back foot.
The back line can make stuff happen.
The interchanging within the back line is difficult because that Lions team, you say, there's not a few guys can cover each position, but not loads. Like not everything's covered there.
So who are your 3 backs that you picked in your team? Well, you got the 9, so it comes down to you got Marcus Smith, and who's the?
It was Tommy Freeman.
Okay,
I do hand Van der Waal.
So you'd have
Actually, no, I can just have Doohan on the
Yeah,
bench.
so
Yeah, but you
Ben
can only
Doohan.
cover one position.
Yeah,
So you
but
might
that's
do it.
why Tommy Freeman starts.
Because he can move
And
to
James
13.
Lowe can play fullback. Come on, man. We said it earlier.
But
on
then
the
you might
show.
as well have Elliot then, because he can cover it.
Yeah. Okay. Elliot / whatever you want. Just don't take my 5-3 away from me.
And who's your... So
I'll tell you what.
you two on the bench.
You can have your 5-3, right? But
yeah.
when we're sitting there to debate the second test, mate, we're going back to a 6-2.
Well, hopefully I'll be out there, bro.
So who are your two?
That was going to be on the bench.
Well, who's your one back on the bench that isn't a 9?
I had Tommy Freeman, but now he's starting, so I'd have put Marcus Smith on.
Yeah, because I had Marcus Smith and I had
Yeah.
Conan as my
I had Conan.
6th forward.
Yeah, I did as well.
But if we're going 5-3, then
Yeah,
I
Conan,
like it.
you can break it to Conan. Yeah, that he's not
Look
playing.
down the barrel in
Yeah,
case he's
yeah.
watching this.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
Right, so if we're going for 5-3,
Well
Mitchell.
Done. Well done. We're going for
Yeah,
Thank you, mate. That's
we're
actually
going to give you this.
the
We're
rest
going to give you
doesn't
this.
matter.
Well done.
Mitchell, Marcus Smith, and Duan van der Merwe.
No, Williams. Marcus Smith.
I was just trying to sneak that one in there. Okay.
And Versa?
That's very well done. I didn't pick up on it. Eagle Eye Len.
Well, we're going 5-3 because otherwise Tom's going to throw his toys out the pram. And we're going to go Thomas Williams, Marcus Smith, and Duan van der Merwe on the bench.
So, our full 23, 4 months out, is, off the top of my head, Porter,
Sheehan, Stewart, Itoje, Byrne, Morgan, Curry, Doris,
Gibson Park,
Russell,
Lowe,
No.
Tuipulotu,
Aki.
Aki. Other way around, sorry.
Bundy, Aki, Tuipulotu, Freeman, Kinghorn.
Genge, George, Beelum, Chesham, Earl. Quite English heavy, that. Williams, Smith, van der Merwe.
There we go.
Finished.
Nailed it. Easy, that.
Well, there we go. That is our team. They are going to pick that team. We've decided 4 months out. And trust us, that will be the 23. So good luck to those guys that are taking the field. Best of luck in the first test against Australia. And you're welcome that we've given Australia a little leg up 4 months out as they prepare to face those 23. So like, subscribe, leave a comment below. Did you enjoy our little experiment? I don't know what you want to call it. Selection meeting. Sorry, selection meeting.
Yeah.
Like, subscribe, comment below. Thank you so much for joining us.